Revision is a fun time, right? Revision is still fun. Remember when I said revision was fun?
I've seen you in a movie, I heard you in a song. Now I know that this will never go wrong. Like you already knew me, that's why we get along. Yeah, I know that this will never go.
Okay. I don't know how tired you guys are of me talking about this book, but here we are. We're back. We're vlogging again, and we are still vlogging Project Night. Sorry. So I have basically started rewriting the book. I'm still calling this version draft 1.5 though, because I don't want to call it draft 2 until it's been beta read and I can like fully do some heavy lifting on the plot. Basically, I've just been brushing up the draft. I have got through most of part 1. There are 5 parts. I've gotten through most of part 1 already. I've been doing way more changes than I thought I was gonna do for this draft 1.5, but it's nothing crazy, but it has been like changing a couple scenes, scrapping scenes, rewriting new scenes. The main plot beats are the same. I've also been going through and line editing, which has been so much fun. It is so much fun to be line editing this book because with my first drafts, I am very like wishy-washy about the prose. I'm very much more focused on getting the ideas on the page, so I don't really pay too much attention to putting care into every single line. But now that we are line editing, it's a fun time. That's what this vlog is going to be. I'm just gonna be continuing my little semi-rewrite of Project Night. If you're new here, by the way, Project Night is an adult fantasy that I've been writing for 6 months, no, 8 months? I don't know. The first draft is done. We are now revising it, having a good time. Right now we're having a good time. I know that once we hit like Act 2 and 3, I don't know if we will still be having a good time. Okay, so I have one more scene that I need to finish before we wrap up this Act 1 revision. So, one thing that I was actually concerned about was that in revision, I would add significantly to the word count, and that is indeed what is happening. So in draft 1 of this book, part 1 is 17,610 words. In my revised Act 1, we are at 19,482 words. And I think that number will be closer to 20,000 once I finish writing this scene. It is a concern that I'm having at the moment. Now, it's not the end of the world if this draft ends up going over 90,000 words, or if it reaches 100,000 words, it's fine. This is not a final draft by any means. It's not even fully a second draft in my mind, but I really need to like have a conversation with myself about if I'm truly telling the story as efficiently as possible, because does this draft need to be this long? I don't know. Are my scenes too long? I don't know. This is why I need to have this beta read at some point. Revision has actually been a fun time so far, probably because we haven't hit any of the craziness yet. I'm kind of nervous for Act 2, but so there are 7 chapters in this first part. I am just rewriting one of the scenes in chapter 5, and then once we are done that, I'm going to reread chapter 6 and 7. I don't think that I'm gonna need to add anything to chapter 6 and 7. Like as of right now, I'm happy, I'm content. I should say I'm content. Maybe happy is an exaggeration. I'm content with the way that chapter 6 and 7 are at the moment. Actually, wait, there are actually 8 chapters in this act. Sorry, there are 8 chapters. One of them is an interlude chapter which is shorter than the other chapters, but it is still like at least 1,200 or 1,500 words. There are 7.5 chapters, let's just say, in part 1. Yeah, I think I'm gonna finish writing this scene tonight, and then hopefully I can probably get a head start on rereading chapter 6 today. I'm probably just gonna line edit it. I am hoping that I don't need to significantly rewrite it. Right now, what I have, I'll show you guys like what I'm doing so far. Basically on this side of my screen, this is the first draft. And then I have started a new Scrivener file on this side of my screen. As I go through each chapter, I'm copying and pasting chapter by chapter into the new Scrivener file. The reason I started a new Scrivener file is because I wanted to keep this version intact for whatever reason. If I need to like go back and refer to it or whatever, because I am making, I wouldn't say I'm making huge changes, but I am making significant changes to certain scenes. Later on in the draft, I anticipate that I'm going to be making structural changes as well. I wanted to keep draft 1, like the true draft 1, as is. And then I'm also keeping track of, like, this is my Google Doc that I have all of like my initial revision notes. And then I also have another Google Doc that is essentially a synopsis. If you watch my previous writing vlog, I mentioned that I was making a synopsis of draft 1 just so I could like easily read over the events of draft 1. As of right now, the plot is very, very fresh in my mind. So even without even without reading the synopsis, I know like the ins and outs of what happens in every single chapter, all the minute things as of right now. However, if I ever take a break from this project, even if it's like a few weeks, I know I'm gonna forget all the little things. So yeah, that's the revision update. I'm gonna write for the rest of the night, or maybe for like, I don't think it'll take me the rest of the night to finish this scene. I'm gonna write maybe for like an hour. It's currently 8 p.m. so I'm probably gonna write until like 9. That's what I usually do. I usually write till like 9:10. I take a shower, I play video games until midnight, and then after I do that, I come back and then I write 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. and I usually sleep around 2:30. That is like my usual routine. So last night I was able to get through a good chunk of my revision for Act 1. I finished writing that new scene that I had to write, and then I just kind of started line editing chapter 6. Later tonight I will try to finish line editing chapter 6 and then maybe start writing chapter 7. It depends on how the night goes. Turns out I am going to a Raptors game tonight, which was very last minute, but when you get free tickets to a Raptors game, what am I gonna do? Like, not go? So yeah, that's pretty much most of my night gone, but honestly, if I get back by like 11 or 12, that's the usual time that I am still writing on like a normal day anyway, so we'll see how that goes. The Raptors game yesterday, it was a great game. However, I drank so much coffee during the game that I basically couldn't sleep. Like when I got home, I could not sleep. So I'm running on like 2 hours of sleep right now, which is great because we're gonna see a movie tonight and I don't know how I'm gonna stay awake. Here with Emily. Okay, scrapped. We're scrapping that. Okay, we're just gonna pretend. Okay, hard cut. Yeah, okay. Welcome back to the vlog. We literally just had a conversation that we can no longer post online because it's gonna be detrimental to our reputations. No. Okay, it's been an interesting couple days. I haven't gotten too much writing done in the past couple days because I've been out, but I plan on writing tonight. I finished writing the new scene that I needed to add into chapter 5. So that's done. Chapter 6 and 7, which are the last two chapters in Act 1. I think plot-wise, nothing's gonna change, but I did start line editing chapter 6 2 nights ago, and there was just a lot more line editing that I needed to do. Like there was more that I needed to do than I thought I would have to do. The early chapters of a first draft are always really interesting because I feel like you can tell how much I was still trying to figure out like what the personality of this story was. I was still trying to figure out what world building details are actually important and how the characters talk and stuff like that. And I don't think I actually had all of that nailed down until maybe like the third act. Line editing will probably take me like most of tonight. I don't know. The chapters are kind of long. I am trying to be a lot more meticulous about the lines because I think in draft 1 you can get away with a lot of things sounding really weird and messy, but you know, obviously when I'm brushing up the draft, I do want to be critical of every single line. I think that's almost like the fun part of revision, where now that I've like written the draft, I actually feel like the story is slightly less precious to me, where I can look at the draft with a lot more impersonally. At least for me, when I'm writing draft 1, I'm always I get really attached to certain scenes and lines. But then now that I'm revising it, I feel like I can be a lot harder on myself, and that it's easier for me to like ask myself, how important is this really? I almost feel like when you're so attached to a draft, you kind of have these like blinders on. Sometimes you kind of are a little bit blinded by your own love for certain lines or certain scenes or whatever. Put all of that aside and to look at it as a reader would look at it, or to look at it as like a more critical writer. I'm getting like really antsy to like send off this draft for my friends to read, because I feel like I really just need that feedback. Because with Project Moon, when I sent over part of the manuscript to my friends to read, it was like immediately, once I had like the first initial conversations with them, I was immediately like enlightened on aspects of the story that, you know, other people are interpreting a different way than you meant it to, or whatever. Just need to get to that point with Project Night, you know, where I can truly rip apart the manuscript so I can get to the true heart of the story. I think that's also like why revising feels so fun. I know it's not going to feel fun later when I get into the draft, but right now revising feels really special, because I was actually thinking about this while I was watching a video from Gray. In one of his like recent writing update videos, he was talking about like the mindset around revising and all of the excitement that comes with that, because you're truly like seeing like for the first time you are seeing the moment where your story could be something special, or like the moment that it could have publishing potential. And that is like such a special feeling to get as a writer, because you don't get it, for me at least, I don't get it for every single story that I write. There were like glimpses of that I felt in previous manuscripts that I've worked on. But for Project Night, now that I've started the revision process, I'm starting this revision process with a lot more of a concrete goal than I have had for any other project that I've worked on. Like, I'm treating the revision very, very seriously, and I think I'm just like having that feeling that there is like, I'm finally digging my way into the soul of this story. And it's just like something I've never truly felt before. Yeah, I'm gonna keep working on it. I know today is the start of Camp NANO, which I always forget about. Like, I always forget until it's like 2 days before, and I was like, maybe I should have planned something. I think as usual, I'm not gonna have any concrete goals for this month. Tentatively, my Camp NANO goal is really just to get to maybe the end of Act 3 of revision. I do think though that I will want to be working on a new manuscript by June or July. But again, that is up in the air because who knows, maybe I'm just gonna get fed up with this draft. Okay, I was just listening to a video from Shaylin Bishop. Such uncanny timing, honestly, because I have been thinking so much about my revision process and how I should improve it. And just as I was having those thoughts, Shaylin uploaded literally a revision video. They just make so many amazing points and just like such really insightful, helpful mindsets to have towards revision. One thing that they mentioned that I really liked was using problems as an opportunity to enrich the story, because I think that is one of the biggest roadblocks that I have had in my own revision for the past like month or so. Is I get really daunted at the prospect of revision because of all of the problems that I know that I'm gonna encounter once I have to tear the story open. While I was watching the video, I just started making a mental list of what are all of the major problems that I encountered in my first draft. There are sections of the story where it's like I just flagged it as like, oh, I don't like this, or this is weak, or this scene needs work, you know? But I think like breaking down in a really specific, concrete way what those problems are is going to help me make some kind of toolkit towards addressing those issues. Revision is a fun time, right? Revision is still fun. Remember when I said revision was fun? Oh my god. Hi, we're back. It's been several days since I've last updated. Long story short, I got very sick this weekend. I basically got the flu. Not the flu, like I didn't get COVID, but I got sick. I got very sick, which like threw all of my plans into disarray. Yeah, it's also kind of messed up my vlogging plans because I just anticipated that I would get way more writing done. I'm back to drinking coffee, so I'm happy now. Yesterday, I was still like recovering from my fever and stuff like that, so I took work off and I actually spent the afternoon getting some writing in and just trying to make up for my lack of writing this weekend. And then I also was originally going to rewatch some of Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures. I have actually watched through pretty much all of the lectures already. I think I did that sometime last year. I've just been wanting to watch it again. Yeah, I think when I watch it again, I'm probably gonna go through and take notes, because the first time I was watching it, I was literally just watching it for like fun. Anyways, just to give a draft update, because like I said, I did get a little bit of writing done while I was sick. I basically finished most of the heavy edits for Act 1, and then I started Act 2. The opening chapter of Act 2 needs to be pretty much entirely rewritten. I'm basically gonna be writing it from scratch. So I spent a large part of yesterday trying to figure out how I wanted to revise it. Like I'm having a lot of issues with it because it basically opens up on a flashback. I was literally writing for like 5 hours yesterday and I couldn't really nail it down. I think I'm gonna write out the version of the scene that I laid out yesterday. I'm gonna see how I feel about it, and then I might go back to it after I've written a little bit more of Act 2. Oh, one other thing that I was working on yesterday was I was trying to figure out what parts of Act 1 I want to cut down, because there's something in me that's telling me that it's a little too long. Like, I was rereading some of it yesterday and I kept finding all these moments where I think that this can be cut down. And when I was writing draft 1, I already thought that I had very tightly plotted Act 1. Like, I thought Act 1 was pretty much fine on its own, and that I had cut it down as much as possible. I had started the story as late as possible. But now that I am in revision, and now that I I'm like looking at it with much clearer eyes, I guess. Something in my gut is telling me that I haven't cut as much as I should, and I'm now finding moments that might not be necessary, which is always bittersweet because I never like having to cut things. Anyway, I'm going to continue working on this tonight. I am like genuinely feeling better this week than I was over the weekend, but I'm still so like out of it. I don't know. I feel like literally, I don't know if it was in this vlog or in a previous vlog, but I swear I was like saying some shit about like how I don't foresee myself stopping revision anytime soon. And that might not be true because I'm really at my wit's end right now. I just want to write something new. I just want to write something new so bad. I'm trying to be like disciplined with myself, and I want to try to get further into this revision before I like pump the brakes on it for a while. I just really think that I need to learn how to do this. I can't keep like running away from revision just because it scares me. You know, I keep wondering if I actually did get COVID this weekend and then the rapid test just didn't pick it up, you know? Thankfully, I would say my symptoms have been super, super mild if it was COVID. Anyways, I'm gonna eat my lunch. While I'm eating, I think I'm going to watch some of Brandon Sanderson's lectures again because I've been wanting to do that this week. He had one that I really wanted to rewatch, and I can't remember which one it was. Oh, I think it was the world building one. You know what? I think I'm gonna rewatch his plot one and his world building one and maybe the viewpoint one. I do think that the weakest part about Act 2 and 3 of Project Night at the moment is some of those like early chain of events that lead into the climax, or not the climax, shortly before the rising action. Hello, it's currently 7 p.m. and I have just been like, I've gone like back into revision for like 2 hours straight, like pretty much from the moment I finished working. I've just been like in the depths of line editing right now. I went back through like the entirety of Act 1, which I thought I was gonna like move on from already. But then I was just so unsatisfied with the prose. Like, you know, it was just like one of those days. I made it through like 2 of Sanderson's lectures. Like I listened to one of the plot ones and then a little bit of one of the world building ones. I forgot how like good those lectures are. This chapter that I'm looking at right now is actually what I consider to be like one of the chapters that like doesn't need as much line editing for this first round, just because I spent so much time writing it. But I did find one paragraph that is really, really interesting. I think it's actually something that I see a lot in a lot of my weaker prose. This is an example of something that I do like all the time in first drafts. I'm really trying to be like aware of now that I'm editing. So Nico wasn't immune, as he had learned the hard way. Like those clinging memories of his mother smiling at him so peacefully and ready for death. Nico's mistakes haunted him with the same translucence. From time to time, they drifted to the surface, losing anchor, even when he kept them shut inside the old box that held all the other things he was content to forget. And the sentence goes on. So this is an example of like inconsistent imagery. This character is thinking of his memories in a way that's like ocean/ship imagery. The sentence immediately dovetails into comparing it to like an old box. Start the metaphor with like one image and then it like morphs into another image. So there's like a weird like dissonance there. And I fear that this draft is like filled with way more of those instances. The fact that this is the first moment that I'm catching this is like alarming and I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's not in here, but I guess that's fine as long as they know what color to print it in. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so there's been a change of events. Long story short, today I was doing some contemplation. I realized that there were some new ideas that I got for my new WIP. It's the same project that I talked about in my Brainstorm With Me videos, but the base idea is, I think, gonna stay the same, but there are some like key new elements that I want to add into the idea. While I was listening to Sanderson's lectures yesterday, he brought up this point about how books are built on when enough ideas like compound to create a plot. And that is definitely the same way that I think of my books as well, where one idea alone, usually 90% of the time, is not enough to sustain an entire book. The one idea is usually just one element, and you need a bunch of other ideas to fill out the world and the characters and the setting and all that kind of stuff. Typically what I'll do when I'm brainstorming, and you guys can watch that video if you're curious, but I'll usually take that idea and I'll just like riff on it as far as it will go. And then before I start outlining, I shelve it for weeks or months or years until I collect new ideas. So over the course of the past like few months since I first got that initial idea, I have been taking notes on new ideas that I want to add to the base idea. I have like a note in my notes app that I just have been adding to periodically. Today I was like doing some brainstorming on all of those extra things that I put down in my notes app. I looked at it and I was like, I'm very intrigued by all of these ideas, and I think I want to start re-brainstorming and maybe outlining. Anyways, yeah, so I'm like really excited by these ideas. Like, it's gonna be so new to anything I've ever done before. I think it's gonna be almost a mystery box if I can do this properly, and I'm so excited by that. And what else? The only real thing that I am a little fuzzy on magic system. I have like one of the magic systems kind of figured out, and I'm like very excited by it. It's very different than anything I've ever tried to do before, but there's another magic system that I'm gonna have to create. I don't really know how I want to approach it. Like, I think it would make sense for the plot for it to be some kind of elemental system, but a part of me is like, I don't want to do an elemental magic system. I've done it so many times and I don't feel like it. But yeah, I'm gonna do basically an overhaul of the world building. I'm still gonna keep it as contained as possible, but I'm gonna try to, I'm gonna have to change it. I'm gonna have to change the world building. I hate when I get in these moods where I'm like stuck in between working on whatever project I'm currently working on and then getting distracted by some other shit. Like, I hate it. I think I needed last night as like a breathing room kind of day where I wasn't actually sitting at the computer typing away at my notes, but I was doing a lot of just like thinking. I feel like world building is it's such a daunting task. Like, you have to really be in the mood to world build. Like, you can't, not every day is a world building day. And I feel like yesterday I was just not in a world building mood. The thing about like when I'm starting a new book, like especially a fantasy, is I feel like I have a bunch of these like variables in an equation that I have to solve, and I just can't get it out of my head until the thoughts are on the page. But then at the same time, I'm also overwhelmed by all the thoughts. It was just a very vicious cycle last night, and I just like could not focus. I'm gonna try to get through some of these initial like ideas that I have brewing in my head for this new book. It's called Project AERITH, by the way. I've already nicknamed it. It's been nicknamed for a while now. I think because the focus of this vlog has shifted just a little bit, I think this is a good place to kind of end for today. I am going to continue revision for Project Night. I need to get this story beta read. I think Project AERITH is going to be a very ambitious story for me to write in terms of just like my skill set. I feel like there's a part of me that can't really envision the tone of this book in my head yet, and that is very daunting to me, because with Project Night I knew exactly what kind of tone I wanted with the story. This is going to be such a tonal shift. It's going to be very different, and I want the world building to be as robust as possible before I go into the first draft. Okay, that is all I have for today. Thank you for hanging out on my channel. I hope all of your writing projects are going well, and I will see you guys in the next video.
We can keep on going like we haven't seen the